What if I told you that life is constantly trying to send you messages, not through a prophet or a burning bush, but through the everyday fabric of your existence? Imagine you're walking through a buzzing city, deep in thought, when a phrase on a billboard catches your eye, a phrase that perfectly articulates the very problem you've been wrestling with for weeks. Or you're just about to give up on a dream, feeling lost. And then a song plays on the radio, or a stranger shares a story that somehow, inexplicably, gives you the exact blueprint for your next step. And what about that uncanny moment when you're thinking of an old friend you haven't spoken to in years, and then boom, your phone lights up with their name? Sound familiar? Most of us have brushed these moments off. Just a coincidence, we tell ourselves. Our rational minds scramble for logical explanations, statistics, chance, pure randomness, because admitting there might be something more, something that defies our need for control, something that whispers beyond the reach of reason, well, that's profoundly unsettling. But Carl Jung, the visionary psychiatrist, didn't dismiss these moments. Quite the opposite. He plunged into them, observing, documenting, reflecting, and he emerged with the conclusion that still sends tremors through modern science. These aren't just coincidences. They are synchronicities. They are acausal connections between external events and our internal states, as if the universe itself is mirroring our inner landscape, responding to our questions, guiding our steps, or flashing a warning sign. Jung witnessed these synchronicities repeatedly, in pivotal career changes, the sudden dissolution of relationships, or chance encounters with people who would utterly transform a life's trajectory. He realized something profound. The closer someone drew to their inner truth, to what he called individuation, the more frequent and intense these meaningful coincidences became. It was as if reality itself was in a constant, subtle dialogue with the soul, patiently waiting for us to learn its language. Here's the problem, though. We live in a culture that's deeply suspicious of anything that can't be measured, quantified, or shoved into a lab experiment. We're taught to trust only what's tangible, reproducible. Anything outside that rigid framework gets labeled as superstition, magical thinking, or simply delusion. So, we learn to mute that intuitive part of ourselves. We ignore the signs, the symbols, the dreams. We dismiss it all as chance, when deep down, it carries a profound call from something greater. This video is an invitation, no, a challenge, to shed the blindfold of excessive rationality. It's a call to embrace a possibility that is both terrifying and liberating. That life is attempting to communicate with you all the time. But it doesn't shout, it whispers. And you, my friend, need to learn how to listen. If you've ever felt that certain coincidences were just too significant to be random, if you've ever had that undeniable gut feeling that the universe was conspiring to make something happen, or if right now you're watching this video and thinking, why did I even click here? Perhaps that too is no coincidence. Carl Jung believed synchronicity is one of the most mysterious and beautiful ways the collective unconscious, this invisible web connecting all things, reveals itself. And perhaps, just perhaps, your presence here, listening to these words, is your very first step towards learning to answer when life calls. Because it is calling. The real question is, will you answer? Jung wasn't your average guy. He wasn't content with understanding humanity solely through rigid Cartesian logic or the limited scope of neuroscience. Jung dove headfirst into territories that traditional psychology often avoided. Dreams, symbols, mythology, alchemy, religion, and of course, the profound mysteries of the unconscious. It was in this deep dive that he encountered a phenomenon that simply couldn't be shoehorned into the scientific models of his era. Synchronicity. Unlike causality, which posits a linear, predictable cause and effect chain, synchronicity shatters that neat logic. Jung proposed that there are events that occur simultaneously with internal psychic states, without any causal link between them, but whose combined occurrence carries a profound, undeniable meaning for the individual experiencing them. It's as if the inner and outer worlds momentarily align to deliver a message, a code, a direct summons. Jung called these acausal events laden with meaning. He wasn't talking about magic spells or superstition. He was talking about something he observed countless times in his practice. Take the famous case of his skeptical patient. She was describing a dream about a golden scarab, a powerful symbol of transformation in ancient Egyptian mythology. Mid-sentence, a tapping at the window interrupted their session. Jung got up, opened it, and there it was, a real scarab beetle, a species rare for that region, pushing against the glass. The patient, utterly stunned by the uncanny coincidence, felt her emotional barriers crumble. She finally opened up to the therapeutic process. For Jung, this was synchronicity in vivid action. The science of Jung's time, and in many ways, even today, simply lacked the conceptual framework to grasp such phenomena. The mechanistic model, a legacy of the Enlightenment, hinges on predictability, repetition, and control. I want this, please. But synchronicity utterly defies these criteria. It's unique, deeply symbolic, and profoundly subjective. You can't reproduce it in a lab, but it can absolutely transform a life. And that, in essence, is why it's so unsettling to the scientific mind. Jung realized that synchronicity isn't just a psychological quirk. It's an expression of a deeper order of reality. Something that intricately weaves together mind, matter, time, and space. And here's a crucial insight. Inspired by his conversations with physicist Wolfgang Pauli, a pioneer of quantum mechanics, Jung began to consider that perhaps the universe isn't just made of matter, but also of meaning. And this meaning manifests not only in what happens, but in when and how it happens. This idea was, and remains, utterly revolutionary, because it yanks us out of the role of passive observers and places us squarely as participants in a dynamic, interconnected system, where external events can vividly mirror our internal states, and the universe can actively respond to the individual psyche. Jung wasn't proposing a new religion. He didn't want people to blindly believe in synchronicities. He wanted them to observe, to perceive, to feel, to shed automatic skepticism, and truly consider the possibility that a deeper intelligence operates behind the everyday scenes of reality. And this is what truly irks modern science, the idea that not everything can or even should be explained rationally. Some experiences exist to be lived, not dissected. And that, precisely, is what synchronicities offer us. A direct, visceral encounter with the mystery, a fleeting glimpse of something far greater than ourselves, a chance to feel that life is leading us somewhere, even if we don't yet have the map. But when do these signs actually appear? How can we tell if we're truly facing a synchronicity or just an ordinary random coincidence? That's where things get even more interesting, because Jung realized that synchronicities intensify precisely when we are standing on the precipice of change. Before we dive deeper, I want to make a quick announcement. You can become a member of the channel and unlock exclusive benefits while directly supporting our work. Your membership helps us continue bringing you new insights and even better content. Thank you all for your incredible support. There are moments in life when everything feels like it's teetering on the edge of a breakdown. You feel a strange restlessness, a premonition that something is about to shift. Things that once made perfect sense now feel hollow. People vanish, while others appear out of nowhere. The stable job begins to chafe. The secure relationship starts to buckle. Deep down, you feel an invisible hand gently, yet firmly, nudging you out of your comfort zone, even if you have no idea where you're headed. It is precisely in these periods of transition that synchronicities truly begin to flare up. Like flashing lanterns on a dark, unknown road, they don't explicitly tell you what to do, but they definitively signal that there's something important to be perceived. something crucial to notice. Jung observed that these meaningful coincidences multiply during such liminal phases. When a new chapter is about to begin, when we're poised to meet a person who will alter our trajectory, or when a long-forgotten part of ourselves is ready to awaken. These transitions are often unplanned, unannounced. Life rarely gives a heads up, but it always signals. And that's when the signs emerge, not overtly, but symbolically. A book inexplicably tumbles from a shelf. An animal appears repeatedly in your path. A specific number starts showing up everywhere. A phrase spoken by a stranger seems to be plucked directly from your deepest thoughts. What Jung uncovered, and what few truly grasp, is that the collective unconscious, that deep, shared layer of the human psyche, conspires with the external world to trigger our awakening. It doesn't operate through logic. It speaks through symbols, images, impulses, and utterly impossible coincidences. Imagine someone in the throes of a deep crisis, feeling utterly lost. One day, for no apparent reason, they feel an inexplicable pull to step into a bookstore they've never visited. Inside, an almost magnetic urge leads them to pick up a random book. Upon opening it, they stumble upon a paragraph that describes their exact feelings, their precise dilemma, as if it were written just for them. From that moment, a transformation begins. Not because the book possesses magical powers, but because something deep within them was finally ready to listen, and the universe responded. These moments are not trivial. They are not products of mere chance. They are calls, silent invitations from the unconscious for you to wake up, to pay attention, to reconnect with your authentic path. But they only work if you are willing to listen. And that is what separates those who transform their lives from those who remain stagnant. The sheer ability to recognize a call when it arrives. The problem is, most people are profoundly deaf to this kind of language. The rational mind, relentlessly trained to doubt anything that doesn't conform to conventional logic, dismisses these signs as irrelevant noise. We lose our symbolic sensitivity. We fail to learn how to read the world as a mirror of our own soul. And when that happens, the signs keep coming, but they pass by completely unnoticed. It's like receiving vital love letters, but never bothering to open the envelopes. But why are we like this? Why do we disconnect from this natural navigation system that is constantly trying to guide us? The answer lies in social conditioning. From childhood, we've been taught to ignore everything that can't be objectively proven. We've learned to trust only in logic, reason, and control, and in doing so, we become blind and deaf to existence's oldest language, the language of symbols, instinct, and intuition. In the next part, we'll expose how this cultural conditioning has systematically distanced us from the ability to listen to life, and why it keeps so many of us trapped in an existence that often feels empty, anxious, and deeply disconnected. Have you ever paused to wonder why some people seem to navigate life with such harmony and flow, while others wander perpetually lost, confused, and disconnected? The answer isn't luck, nor is it some innate spirituality. It lies in conditioning. From our earliest days, we've been programmed to ignore anything that can't be measured, analyzed, or controlled. We learn to doubt ourselves, to silence our intuition, to ridicule anything that doesn't fit the dominant narrative of objective reality. School taught you to memorize formulas, but never to observe the signs. Society rewarded linear thinking, but actively dismissed symbolic wisdom. You were trained to use your mind like a surgeon's scalpel, cutting, dividing, classifying, but never taught to use it like a radar, like an instrument of deep, resonant listening. The result? When the universe speaks, you don't hear. When life whispers, you rationalize it away. When reality tries to nudge you onto your path, you resist. because you don't recognize the nudge as a message, but as a threat. The truth is stark. We've been trained to live in a truncated, incomplete way. We've deliberately severed the channels that connect us to the unconscious, to instinct, to the hidden meaning of things. We replaced symbolic perception with relentless productivity, intuition with cold efficiency, and mystery with an illusion of control. And with that, we lost something absolutely essential: the subtle sensitivity to perceive when reality itself is trying to guide us. Have you ever had a powerful intuition that you should or shouldn't do something, and then ignored it? Have you ever felt a strange calling, an inexplicable urge, and chose to be rational instead? Have you ever had that nagging feeling that something was fundamentally wrong, even when everything looked perfect on the surface, and still pushed forward, only to regret it bitterly later? This isn't failure. It's conditioning. We've been programmed not to trust ourselves. The modern world has created a cult of logic. Anything that deviates from objective, measurable data is labeled as mere belief, mysticism, or pure delusion. But Jung clearly saw what this narrow thinking utterly ignores. There's a dimension of reality that cannot be explained with numbers, yet is undeniably, absolutely real. It's the territory of the symbol, the metaphor, the archetype. It is there that the soul communicates with the world. Life speaks to you through symbols, not lengthy explanations. A recurring number, a vivid dream, an unexpected encounter, a sudden compelling urge to change course, to turn a corner, to make a choice you hadn't planned. These are the subtle conduits through which the collective unconscious attempts to bypass the rational armor of your mind and make you realize you are far from alone in this process. But if you haven't learned to recognize these languages, you will continue to feel adrift. You will keep searching for answers where there are only formulas. You will continue to believe you are in control, when in fact, you are being swept along by the invisible, powerful current of the unconscious. Yet, here's something curious. Even the most staunch skeptics, when confronted with a true synchronicity, one of those spine-tingling coincidences that defies all rational explanation, feel that something utterly different is happening. They may not admit it. They may desperately try to rationalize it away. But they feel it. Because the body knows. The soul knows. Something deep within them remembers what it was like to live in harmony, in tune with the grand rhythm of life. And it is this point of remembrance that we aim to reactivate in this video. In the next part, we're going to talk about something that can radically transform your entire way of living. What happens when you finally start to follow these signs? Because there are people who do this, and their lives are fundamentally, incredibly different. If what you're hearing resonates with you, you'll find immense value in my ebooks. Beyond the Shadow breaks down Jung's core ideas into practical insights, while Dialogues with the Unconscious gives you a 30-day path to apply them directly in your life. Both are linked in the pinned comment below. Most people navigate life desperately trying to control every single detail. They plan, they analyze, they anticipate every conceivable outcome. They firmly believe that if they just do everything right, life will reward them with predictability, stability, and security. But in practice, what they often encounter is a torrent of anxiety, gnawing frustration, and an inexplicable emptiness. It's as if, despite all of the Herculean effort, something absolutely essential is missing. And it is. What's missing is flow, alignment, meaning, and that's precisely what people who learn to follow their synchronicities experience. They live at a different rhythm. While the world rushes headlong to meet externally imposed goals, these individuals move through life in a more fluid, more connected way, almost as if guided by an invisible compass. And perhaps they are. Carl Jung observed this phenomenon in countless patients throughout his life. When someone began to genuinely recognize and respect synchronicities instead of simply dismissing them, their entire psyche would begin to reorganize. Internal chaos would gradually give way to a symbolic order where the fragmented pieces of their life finally began to click into place. Coincidences ceased to be mere curiosities. They became profound guides. Paths opened up, not through brutal, forced effort, but through an intuitive attunement with something far greater than themselves. People who followed their synchronicities don't live passively, waiting for miracles to happen. They don't outsource their decisions to some arbitrary fate. What they do is something far more powerful. They listen. They pay razor-sharp attention to the symbols that arise in their lives. They take subtle impulses seriously. They respect moments of quiet introspection, strange dreams, and utterly improbable encounters. And it is in this sacred space of deep listening that something astonishing begins to unfold. Life starts to respond in kind. Opportunities materialize from where there were none. The exact right people appear at the precise moment they are needed. Situations that seemed utterly blocked become effortlessly unblocked. Not because these people are lucky, but because they are in deep alignment with their own inner journey. They've stopped fighting against the river's current. They finally learned to swim with it. These individuals live with a profound sense of meaning. Not because everything becomes easy, but because everything is perceived as an integral part of a larger, unfolding path. Even suffering transforms. A loss isn't just pain, it's also a transition. A failure isn't the end, it's a necessary redirection. An unexpected encounter isn't just coincidence, it's a vital message. Life transforms from a relentless battlefield into a rich, symbolic field of unfolding discovery. And this changes absolutely everything. Jung famously wrote, "Whoever looks outside dreams, whoever looks inside, awakens." Synchronicities are precisely that meeting point between the external and internal worlds. They are the bridge. When you dare to cross this bridge, your life becomes less about forcing things to work and more about exquisitely noticing what is manifesting right now. You begin to trust in something that cannot be fully explained, but that absolutely can and must be lived. And here's the most powerful detail. The more you consciously follow synchronicities, the more they start to appear. It's as if the universe leans in and says, you're finally paying attention. So let me show you more. And it does. But not everyone is ready to truly see. And critically, not every coincidence carries a deep meaning. So, how do you distinguish what's genuinely significant from what's merely an illusion? How do you recognize a true synchronicity and avoid falling into the pitfalls of wishful thinking, self-deception, or magical thinking? In the next part, we will expose the real signs. Those coincidences so precise, so utterly impossible, that the rational mind simply cannot explain them away. Not every coincidence is a synchronicity. Sometimes, a repeated number is just a number. A strange dream is merely a reflection of that late-night pizza you devoured. The human mind is hardwired to find patterns, even when they don't objectively exist. And that's precisely why so many dismiss synchronicities as pure illusion. But Jung was meticulous. He never claimed that every coincidence held a hidden meaning. What he asserted was that some coincidences are so profoundly improbable, so exquisitely precise, and so laden with profound psychic significance, that to ignore them is to ignore the very soul, attempting to communicate with you. Let's be crystal clear. Synchronicity is not superstition. It's not seeing a black cat and thinking the universe is against you. It's when something external and something internal connect in such an incredibly improbable way that the only plausible explanation is that there's a deeper, unifying field of meaning at play. A field that unites the outer world with your subjective inner experience. Jung lived and documented numerous such experiences. We've talked about the scarab beetle, but let's revisit it for its sheer impact. A rationalist patient, stubbornly stuck in her therapeutic process, described a dream about a golden scarab. As she spoke, a tapping. Jung opened the window. A real beetle, a golden chafer, the European analog of the Egyptian scarab, trying to get in. Jung gently caught it and presented it to her, saying, "Here is your scarab." That woman, previously unyielding, was utterly stunned. The coincidence was so absurdly precise, so intensely personal, that it shattered her rational defenses. And in that moment, her true process of transformation finally began. This type of event cannot be explained with statistics. It touches an entirely different dimension of human experience, the symbolic dimension. Perhaps you've had something similar happen, thinking of someone out of the blue, and seconds later, they call you. Having a sudden, undeniable intuition to change your route home. And in doing so, avoiding a serious accident, or meeting someone profoundly important. Opening a random book and reading the exact sentence you needed to make a critical decision. Repeatedly encountering the same symbols, a word, an image, a number, in completely disparate contexts, always precisely when you're grappling with an internal dilemma. These are the moments when life seems to look you directly in the eye, and in those moments you know. Not because someone convinced you, but because something deep within you recognizes. This is not just chance. And here's another truth. The more intense the crisis, the stronger the call. People experiencing moments of rupture, unexpected layoffs, relationship breakups, existential crises, often report a dramatic surge in significant coincidences. It's as if reality itself is attempting to show them that, no matter how chaotic everything seems, there's an invisible thread connecting the events, a hidden path being drawn in real time. You can call it fate. You can call it the collective unconscious, universal intelligence. Jung didn't care much for the names. What mattered was recognizing the phenomenon itself and accepting it as a legitimate, powerful part of the human psyche. Synchronicity doesn't demand your belief. It demands your presence, your attentiveness, because it happens whether you want it to or not. But it only transforms your life if you are awake enough to see it. And when you start to see and to trust, everything changes. But how do you actually do this in practice? How do you begin to listen to life's whispers? How do you develop the sensitivity to perceive the signs and respond to them with courage, not doubt? In this final part, we will reveal how you can tune your internal radar, how to discern when something is just the mind's noise, and when it is existence itself trying to guide you. Listening to life isn't some esoteric skill requiring supernatural gifts, mediumship, or mystical rituals. It is, above all, a disposition, a conscious choice to step out of autopilot and simply start paying attention. Because the truth is, the signs have always been there. They have never stopped appearing. What has shifted is your ability to listen. But listen to what? Exactly. Listen to that sudden, compelling urge to call someone, only to discover they desperately needed to hear your voice. Listen to the persistent discomfort you feel when visiting a particular place, maintaining a certain relationship, or following a path that looks right on paper but silently suffocates your soul. Listen to that strange shiver that runs down your spine when something aligns in an utterly inexplicable way. Listen to the patterns that repeat, in dreams, in conversations, in symbols, in encounters. Listen not just with your ears, but with your body, with your heart, with your intuition. The first step is to slow down. Because while you're constantly rushing, trying to micromanage every aspect of your life, you become deaf. Synchronicity doesn't shout, it whispers, and only those who cultivate internal silence can hear it. Take deliberate moments to simply be still. Observe your feelings. Jot down your dreams. Pay close attention to sudden impulses, strange repetitions and symbols that appear out of nowhere. This isn't superstition, it's psychological sensitivity. The second step is to trust. And here lies the greatest challenge. You have been conditioned, for your entire life, to distrust anything that cannot be proven. But what Jung proposes is a quiet revolution. He invites you to trust in something deeper than mere reason. To trust that the universe, the unconscious, life, call it what you will, is communicating with you all the time, and that when you respond to this call, truly extraordinary things begin to happen. And this brings us to the most important part of all, responding. Because merely noticing synchronicities without acting on them is like receiving a vital, life-changing letter and leaving it forever unopened. Life is trying to show you the way, but you are the one who must walk it. Sometimes, following the sign means changing cities, ending a stagnant relationship, shifting careers, making that difficult call, saying yes when fear tells you no, or saying no when expectation demands yes. The path is uniquely yours, but the invitation came from something infinitely greater. Jung famously said that individuation, the lifelong process of becoming who you truly are, demands immense courage. And the significant part of that courage is learning to follow what cannot be explained. Because not everything that is real can be empirically proven, and not everything that is invisible is imaginary. So, are you living in tune with this profound call? Or are you unconsciously ignoring everything that doesn't neatly fit into your rational, pre-planned agenda? Are you truly paying attention to the small daily miracles that ripple through your existence? Or are you blinded by distractions, the need for control, and the relentless pace of modern life? Perhaps the mere presence of this video in front of you right now is already a synchronicity. Perhaps you clicked without consciously thinking. Perhaps you felt something stir deep within you upon hearing these words. Perhaps, on some level, something inside you has just begun to awaken. Life is calling you. It calls you through coincidences, through encounters, through impulses, through dreams. And you have two fundamental choices: to keep telling yourself it's just chance, or to begin living as someone who has finally understood that nothing, absolutely nothing, is truly by chance. So tell me, when was the last time the universe truly spoke to you? Share your story in the comments below. And if this resonated, share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. And most importantly, subscribe, because this channel is made for those who are awakening. And if you've made it this far, perhaps that awakening has already begun. Life is calling you. The ultimate question is, will you answer?